Well, good morning. It is Kirsten Liebelt. How are you? It's Wednesday, halfway through the week. So I wanted to jump on and chat a little bit. So I already know because this is the conversation that I'm having. People are feeling like they're so behind. You feel like you're really behind in getting ready for summer. Like this is the thought process. And so I always want to talk about how you guys, you don't have to give up everything that you love to eat. You don't. I want people to understand, like, I thought that I had to stop being a total foodie. Hey, Cheryl, good morning. I thought I had to stop being a total food. I have to take a sip. Sorry, a little bit of a frog in the throat this morning. Hold on. And when I realized that I didn't, I'm like, everybody needs to know this, like, so for real. All right. So if you don't know anything about me, my name is Kirsten Liebelt. And basically, I was raised by an insulin-dependent type 2 dad who did everything. He did all of the heart procedures and the pacemaker and the dialysis and everything. And I grew up thinking it was all genetic. That no matter what, it's just all about genetics, baby. And if you don't have the genes, then you're good to go. Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. So, but I believe that because that's really what we were told. And so, I have to change this on TikTok. Hold on. There we go. And so when I got into my 20s and I was gestational with my first baby, hypoglycemic with my second baby, I didn't think anything of it. Like I don't know. I don't know why I was so unaware. And I'm still trying to find the words for this thought process. I used to just say I was really dysfunctional in my 20s, which isn't a lie, but I feel like it's more than that. I feel like maybe it's not so much about dysfunction as it is because I didn't have a traumatic childhood in any way, shape, or form that way. But I wonder if I just was never taught how to live intentionally. Maybe that's what it was. So I'm, going through my 20s, sailing through my 20s, go into the hospital 2 different times to have 2 different babies, to have 2 different metabolic insulin resistant moments. And not one person ever told me, and I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just telling you this is the reality because I know from my DMs, I know from the texts that I get from you that you are just as frustrated that now, even in your 40s and your 50s, you are going to the community of medicine and they are not telling you stuff either. And you're like, why? Why have I not been told some of these basic things? Because remember, y'all, I'm not a doctor. I am an Italian girl who was raised in a culture to love food, who thought that type 2 was only genetic because of my dad and his whole history and how I was raised, hypodermic needles and the whole thing. And it didn't, how do I say this? I'm not going to even say that it finally dawned on me because it didn't. My mother happened to me. Can anybody relate with a parent that actually loves you enough to tell you the truth? My mother happened to me. So my dad dies, I'm 30. Do nothing in my 30s. Hit my 40s. And basically, she's the one who said, Kirsten, seriously, do you do anything about your sugars? So the answer was no. And I can finish that story in just a minute. But this is what I want to talk about. You are doing yourself the best favor ever on the face of the planet. If you can change in your brain how to, instead of eating things that will, okay, let's back up for 1 second. Once you are insulin resistant, you're just in a different land. Okay. Just, you have to accept the fact that all of the other advice coming from somebody who is not insulin resistant, who is not looking through the lens of insulin resistance, it's noise. It's noise. And the only reason why I say, I don't mean that they have to talk about it all the time, but the biological pieces are still just true. So when you're insulin resistant and your body can't get the insulin and the can't use the insulin to get the fuel into your cell because your cell is resistant, you basically start storing fat because insulin is a fat storing hormone and you are exhausted. So you have to stop the cycle. So for instance, now this is something that I made this morning and I haven't even eaten it yet. This is that viral cottage cheese flatbread. Do y'all know what I'm talking about when I say the viral cottage cheese flatbread? Has anybody made it? I would love to know. And if you're on the replay, I need notes. I'm going to put notes that when I go live tomorrow, I'm going to have notes. Tell me if you're on the replay and where you came in from, because I would love to know where you are coming in from. Like, that is just so much fun to me. People like from Egypt and Australia and all over the place. It's really fun. Very global. Anyway, when you eat protein in the morning, it's going to change the way that your insulin resistant body is responding to life, the world. Like, this is how this goes. So my father was type 2 insulin dependent, and he was told to eat things like Cheerios, Rice Krispies, Corn Flakes, Raisin Bran, grape nuts. Does anybody remember grape nuts? We had a lot of grape nuts in our house. Really bad idea. Okay. But anyway, I can't even tell you how much sugar I would put on those grape nuts to get those down, but that's a whole nother conversation. And then he was using skim milk, and skim milk is very sugar spiking. Like, they took all the fat out. You can't take all the fat out. That's not how this works well for our bodies. So once you're insulin resistant and you just kind of like understand that thought process, I always talk about, like, if you can get a minimum, and it really is a minimum, of 100 grams of protein a day, you really are shooting for your goal weight in protein every single day is right around a good gauge. And the reason why is because it's very stabilizing. It keeps you full. It stabilizes your blood sugars. It helps you to maintain lean muscle mass. We talk about that a lot. I think I talked about that yesterday. And it's going to keep you full and satiated. And like, you're just going to be like, you have a sense of well-being because you're not doing this. So if you're like spiking and then crashing, you're exhausted and you don't feel very good. And that's what would happen, like even to my dad, when he would sit down to have breakfast, he would eat a really dumb breakfast, really dumb, probably told to him by, his nutritionist, right, at the hospital, really dumb breakfast that would spike his sugars to the moon, cereal and skim milk. Not a good idea. Then he would take a handful of meds because he had a lazy Susan. Thank you for the love. Courtney loves cats. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Then he would take a handful of meds because he had a lazy Susan of them. When he died on a Friday morning. I was home with my kids on vacation. He dies Saturday morning. I get up, and in my home that my mom had lived in forever, she just sold the family house just a few years ago now in the suburb of Minneapolis. I'm in Minnesota. And I woke up Saturday morning and I was just distraught. Even though we knew his health wasn't great, still, it's no fun, right? It's no fun. So I took a drive and I just kind of cleared my head and I came back and my mom was crying. And I'm like, Mom, I'm so sorry, whatever. And she said, and she's crying because she said, why did I spend so much time complaining about all of his medicine? Because he had so much. And she said, I always, was so hard on him. Like, John, it's such a mess. Like, get it out of the way. Why do you have it on the table? And she would recount this whole thing. And, I feel like in that moment, that's when my brain kind of clicked on. And I thought to myself, well, wait a second. If he was on all these amazing 21st century meds, why didn't this fix him? This wasn't a terminal diagnosis. He didn't have the C word. And this started to just kind of like fester. That's a bad word, but, kind of like sit in my brain, in my spirit. And this was then a long journey because he died at 63. I'm 59. So it was a little bit ago that he died when I was 30. And that's when it all started. So if you're getting up and you're eating breakfast like that and you're insulin resistant and you're spiking to the moon like my dad was, and you're trying to balance that out with meds that are interacting with each other, and your insulin, you're injecting insulin, it took him till noon until he felt normal. And that's because he literally would get up in the morning, do all of this, and he was a business owner. So he would call his employees. He owned furniture stores at that time, but when I was growing up, he owned Italian restaurants here in Minneapolis. Go figure. Wonder why we love food so much. I don't know. Maybe it was that. Anyway, so he does this, and he wasn't safe to drive until about noon. because of all of the interactions. So let's change your world just a little bit. Let's focus on protein. And so if you can get like 30 grams of protein for a breakfast, that would just be dynamite. Just dynamite. Go for 30 grams of protein. And I kind of show like different ideas. I actually think that I'm going to narrow down to like 3 choices, because the truth is that I'm a super boring person. I'm very, very boring. I'm very, very streamlined because it's very, very easy. And that's actually a key to success. You don't have to have as much variety as you're thinking you do. You have to identify what you love and then just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And if you only have a couple of things that you are really trading out at any given time, you're good to go. Like, that's a really big deal. Yes. Courtney says healthcare is a business to keep us sick. If we are healthy, sorry, I have to look around, you guys. If we're all healthy, healthcare is no longer needed. I know. It took me a long time, Courtney, to actually like accept that. I'm going to cough. Hold on. Took me a really long time to accept that. I live in Minnesota, the home of the Mayo Clinic. And so even though I was going through this whole process, I thought that our healthcare system in Minnesota, of all places, darling, would be phenomenal, right? Well, 6 years ago, 6.5 now, we took my mom out of her home because she had dementia, type 3 diabetes, insulin resistance of the brain. And we started to go into many different facilities, doing a lot of different things. We did a whole journey, and it was really great. And she went to be with Jesus a year ago. At the same time, my brother, who was only 58 at the time, he has a heart attack, quadruple bypass surgery, has a stroke on the table, and has to use a lot of different facilities in Minnesota. Okay. So there are many different pieces to this puzzle, meaning nursing homes, ICUs, emergency rooms, group homes, LTACs. I don't think I've overlooked anything, but if there is anything added, you can add it. Hi, Dalton. Thank you for following. You can add it. And so during that time was my true wake-up call. Now, I had already woken up to the fact that we were lied to about the food pyramid. I mean, we weren't lied to about it. We were just told a really bad one. We were given really dumb information. And yeah. Anyway, and I had already dug into all that research. When it comes to, the sugar industry paying off for studies, Dr. Ansel Keys, like I'd already started studying all this stuff, and I've got some really weird connections of my own with some of this stuff. And so I'd already knew that we were being given really bad information. That's why we were sicker than we've ever been, more obese than we've ever been, more medicated than we've ever been. And this was starting to make sense to me. But 5 years ago, 6.5 years ago, when we started this journey of going around to different, following the journey of my mom, at the same time we were following the journey of my brother. And then he did die in 2020, but not from any pandemic, nothing like that. It was the beginning of the shutdown, and he actually passed away at that time. So he never got to see any of that. But I was awakened to, this is pre-shutdown at that time, how challenging and I don't know how to say it, not well connected, not well, like I couldn't believe that we had to be advocates at such an insanely high level at every minute of every day for 2 people. Like, it took a village for both people, because the system was not systematizing. The system wasn't systeming, I'm making up words, and I know that, but I'm just saying, like, I was like, for 6.5 hours, I live in Minnesota. What's happening right now? Now then, post shutdown, you guys, do you think it's better or worse for the healthcare industry? Do you think it's better or worse for those who are working? I am connected to so many nurses. When I talk about, and I'll talk about this in a minute, when I talk about the supplementation that I started a long time ago to go from insulin resistant to insulin sensitive, I talk to so many nurses. because insulin is a hormone and cortisol is a hormone, and cortisol is your stress hormone. Do you think nurses may or may not be more stressed out than the average person, which creates belly fat, insulin resistance? It's all connected, right? So that's kind of my whole thing, You agree. Mary says, before her mom passed, she took care of her. Oh, I know. She took about a dozen meds. Yep. When she came to live with me at 79, she was on 30 units of insulin. Through helping change her eating over a few years, she got off all insulin. God bless you, Mary. She passed from heart and lung disease, but it taught me so much about change through eating healthier. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, we did the same thing. And then I'm going to tell you about this recipe here. We took her out of assisted living in May of 2020. We said, no, thank you. Your services are no longer needed because OMG, she's going to in here. And you're going to now, then we won't, we saw it. We saw the writing on the wall. May 2020, May, right at the beginning of the beginning of the beginning. I said to my sister, oh yeah, no, they are not going to let us see her and she will pass. We're not doing this. So we took her out. And she went to live with my sister for a couple of years. Then she came to live with me. And we did some of those same things. We changed her food. We're like, oh, just everybody be quiet. We're not going to, not you guys, but we're like, we're not going to feed her the way that the institutions are feeding her, even though they know she's type 2. Like, what are you people doing? That was in our heads. I'm not saying it to you, but we were seriously like, what do you mean you don't care that she's type 2 and you're just going to give her sugar all day long? What's happening now? So we took her out. We completely changed everything. And we got her off of all sorts of stuff. And we did great things and put her on supplements, changed her life. Anyway. And so we had the joy of taking care of her until she was 94. And then she passed. All right. Dementia is hard. Dementia is very, very hard. It's one of the reasons why I'll keep talking about insulin resistance for a very long time, because she should have never had type 2. She didn't get it until she was like in her 80s. So it was totally diet related. Anyway, this is the cottage cheese bread, and it's 1 cup of cottage cheese, 2 eggs. You blend it up and it makes flatbread. And so I know Facebook, you can't see this, but this is a flatbread on a parchment paper. Now, what I did was I turned it into sweet, because that's what I do. I turn things into sweet, but I want to show this to you. I want to take this off of the parchment paper and show you how you can take this and you could cut it in half. This is cooled now. Sorry if it's all crinkly and noisy. All right, cut it in half, and then you can use half for one meal, half for another meal, because half will be, I think half of this would be like 11 to 13 grams of protein just for the cottage cheese. 1 egg is 6. So let's just say we're talking 13. 6, that's 19 grams of protein. And then I made mine sweet because think McDonald's. I brought this up yesterday talking about the McGriddle, and it is cottage cheese bread. It is. So it's 1 cup of cottage cheese, 2 eggs. So it's a flatbread. Let me show you the back so that you can see what it looks like. You see that? So don't be confused. I'm not saying, oh, this tastes just like wheat. No, it doesn't. But I am completely grain-free and sugar-free, because you have to fix what got you into the pickle to begin with, right? But if you take half of this, I guess it would be only 6 grams of protein. Then an egg would be 6. So that will only be 12. So you would have to add quite a bit of protein. I'm trying to think of how I would do that. So I do talk about like the chicken sausages that I get from like either Aldi's or Walmart. You can get Gilbert's brand or Never Any, depending upon where you are, and really good ingredients, high protein. Eggs are about 6 grams of protein a piece. Greek yogurt would be, that's really nice and high. That can be like 17 grams for like 3/4 to a cup of maybe 3/4 of a cup of Greek yogurt. Buy the full fat, non-sweetened, and then I sweeten it with like my liquid stevia. I'll use something like this. This is vanilla. You can get this on Amazon.com. I order mine off of Thrive Market. I have an affiliate on my website if anybody cares about that, but that's just a place that I can get sweetener ingredients. And then this is maple extract. And so today I actually did vanilla sweetener and maple extract. And I put that in here so that I would have a sweet flatbread, because now I can take half of this and I can cut it in half. Let's see here. I'll do it with my hands. This is all cooled down now. I can take half of this and leave half for tomorrow morning in my fridge. And I can tell, eggs are they have a wetness to them. So I'll probably put a little bit of paper towel on here, and then I'll put it in a Ziploc baggie and just stick it in my fridge for tomorrow. But I could easily recreate the thought process of like McDonald's with the McGriddle, where you have the pancake on the outside and then the sausage in the middle. You could add cheese to this for more protein. You could add, whatever. But again, taking this and warming up sausage and using it as a flatbread or a breakfast burrito thought process, you can see how this would totally work. And again, I wanted my outside to be sweet because that's just the way that I roll. That's the way that I roll. You need the amounts and directions. Okay, I will tell you. 1 cup of cottage cheese, 2 eggs, whip in a blender or an immersion blender or a NutriBullet. Put it in the oven on this. I think you can do this in an air fryer. I just haven't tried it yet. This is kind of new to me. I did it in the oven at 350 for 40 minutes. Basically, I didn't even have to look at it. It came out golden brown with some golden brown edges. The back looks like this. Like I said, it's not wheat. Doesn't taste like a tortilla. It's a, hold on, I'm gonna snuff it. It smells like mapley vanilla because that's what I did to it. But I mean, it's not, I would say it's not super eggy because it's more cottage cheese, right, than eggs, but the eggs is the binder. You are welcome. Did you ever spread out the Greek yogurt on a pan? Hold on. Oh my goodness. And freeze as a snack, add fruit on top before. No, but I will now. OMG. So, okay, I love it. You guys are so fun. You are so fun. Okay. Greek yogurt. I have some in my fridge right now. In a pan, freeze as a snack, add fruit on top. So for me, what I would probably do is I have like this vanilla one, and then I also have a caramel one. I would probably sweeten my full fat Greek yogurt with something like this first, and then I could spread it out and put, that's a great idea. Because I do Greek yogurt, in general, like in a bowl, and then sweeten it and put frozen. I usually use because I'm in Minnesota, so we don't have fresh berries from the farm, all but maybe for a short season. So all of the berries that we have in the rest of the year, first of all, you're going to literally mortgage your house to pay for organic berries. But second of all, they've been shipped from Timbuktu to get to us, like forever away because, right, like in the middle of January. So I prefer to then buy in those seasons, the off season, like organic frozen berries, and add that to my Greek yogurt with like a squirt of this vanilla or caramel or whatever, right? But that's such a great idea. Use frozen berries on top. Perfect. You can drizzle. Hold on. She's still talking. You can drizzle honey or cinnamon if you want. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. So I personally would not do honey just because I don't do any sugar, but there is a keto sugar out there, or keto honey that you can use. And cinnamon, I am such a cinnamon girl. Such a cinnamon girl. I add cinnamon to everything. Your friend does a dash of dark chocolate. Oh, she's so naughty. I like Lily's chocolate, and that is such a good idea. Wow, you've got my brain going. Yes, Mary, she's all on board. Cheryl, I'm going to answer that in just a second. Mary's all on board. Spread it, add strawberries, maybe a few nuts, and freeze. Oh my gosh, you guys. Drizzle melted sugar-free melted chocolate chips on top. Freeze, break up the bark, and eat for a snack. You guys, that is such a good idea. This is a very good idea. I'm just not going to lie. That's so good. Okay, temperature of the oven, 350 degrees, 40 minutes. 350 degrees, 40 minutes. Parchment paper. I didn't even like have to babysit it at all. It just came out perfect. Granny, thanks for the follow. It just came out golden brown, and yeah, 350, 40 minutes. Break it in two so that I guess you don't have to. Like, could you just eat the whole thing? Let me just think about this. So if you eat the whole thing, a cup of cottage cheese is about 13 grams. 2 eggs would be 12. That'd be 25. You literally could eat the whole thing, and you wouldn't even have to add hardly anything to it to get your protein up. So you could do that for sure. It's exactly like bark. That is just amazing. I'm so going to do that. And I do like to teach. So let me just pause for a second. I'll do a little commercial announcement. So I do have a Facebook group. I started it a year ago, you guys. It's been almost a year. We're having an anniversary. And every month at the beginning of the month, it's for women and insulin resistance. And at the beginning of the month, I do a 5-day challenge. And in the 5-day challenge, we do ingredient trade outs, and I take you into my pantry and my refrigerator. And I teach you about targeted supplementation and how to literally, like if you are on a stall, there are a lot of people who they do keto and then they stall. Well, if you are on a stall, first of all, I teach mainly how to really tweak your keto so that you are not listening to all the marketing keto, but also to how to get your engine working. And that's through targeted supplementation. And I'm telling you that I've done this now for a long time and it works. I've gone from a 2X down to a large in my 50s. Okay. But we also do recipes. So like over winter during Christmas, I did a keto toffee in there. And so I could see myself doing that Greek yogurt one and teaching that because that is very beneficial. People think you have to give up everything that you love, and it's not true. You just have to change your brain. Okay. So when people come and they say, I'm in my 40s, I'm not losing any weight like I used to lose, and nobody has ever told me that insulin is a hormone. I've sort of known that cortisol was a stress hormone, but nobody told me about the whole insulin hormone situation. And I am so convinced that women are sliding into their 40s. They are insulin resistant. They don't know it. And they're just beating their heads against a wall trying to figure out, why do all of the old things that I used to do not work for me anymore? I used to be able to count points and bam. I used to be able to live in a calorie deficit only and just bam. I used to be able to like do all of this high intensity cardio and then just melt it off or whatever the situation is. And now it's different. Keto toffee, OMG heaven. Yes. I had to stop making it because of all the almond flour. Don't get me wrong. I love it. It just stalls my weight loss, just like dairy can for me too. I have to be a little careful with making things like this. Not a single doctor ever. I know. So basically, I just think that if we change the glasses that we put on and we see things through insulin resistance, this is how you can finally make a huge dent in what you're trying to accomplish. So do you have to stop listening to all of the noise of people saying, this is too restrictive? Yeah, you do. You have to stop listening to that because this is not, people will say that this is not sustainable. And I just completely 150% disagree. In my opinion, what was not sustainable, showing itself by death, was the way that my father was living. That was not sustainable. So I'm not really sure what people mean when they say that this is not sustainable. That's a joke. No, you have to turn back. You have to go back. You have to undo and you have to fix what got you into the pickle to begin with. There's no, unless you want to stay on course, there's really not another option. And the thing is that my message needs to be to people. I want people to hear. I thought I couldn't be a foodie. But I can. I thought I had to give up everything that I loved, but I didn't. And I thought that it was going to be so much harder than it actually was. I want people to understand that my path of least resistance, when my mom would not leave me alone about my sugars in my 40s, Kirsten, seriously, do you even go to the doctor? Like, do you even get your sugars checked? Do you even know where your numbers are? Are you peeing all the time? Are you thirsty all the time? Like, she was on me. Well, praise God that she was, because I actually then went, this is what I did. I got supplements because I'm like, I can't change out my foods. I don't know how. Like, I'm Italian. I make everything white. I'm a total sugar addict. I've never even supplemented in my life. Like, my idea of supplementing was, I always tell the story. It was a weight loss med that I could get at Walmart and ended up being banned, and ibuprofen. Those were my supplements in my 30s. And into my, like, this was normal. Like, I had no thought process of ever being a granola person, of eating proper. Like, this was never in my grid. But what happened was, I'm like, Mom, look I'm taking some supplements for my sugars and stuff. And she's like, okay, Way to go, honey. But you know what? This is what happened. I didn't understand the science of it at the time. This is over 10 years ago. I didn't get it. But they did help bring down my insulin, bring down my sugars, get my engine running. And now I just have testimonies coming out of my ears. And so I keep talking about it. I talked about it locally first in Minnesota to my friends. And I had some people that were like, I had one guy that said to me at one point, and I don't make these claims because I can't do that. But he said, I need to order some more of my diabetes pills. And I'm like, tell me what's going on. Because you see, I'm the only one that avoided type 2 in my family. So my dad took the path of lazy Susan medication. I took the path of not knowing anything, supplementation. And now I'm 59, no meds, no type 2 in sight, never will. And I did this for a very long time before I did this. And I was able to go from a 2X down to a large by doing this process. Like, I don't know what else to say other than when your sugars and your insulin is high, you can't lose weight. And nobody talks about this. Why is nobody talking about this? Why are people not in general letting us know that we're not crazy? You're not crazy. You're not lazy. You're not crazy. You're not undisciplined. I mean, we all have our stuff, right? But it's not because you don't get it. That's not because you must just be eating too much. You must just not be tracking properly. You must just be, and I understand we have to tweak all this stuff. I get it. Like, I don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, like, in general, at the front end of this conversation, those are the things that we think in our heads. And those are the things that we are sometimes being told with words or without words when we go to the medical community. I mean, I've heard it all in my DMs. I've heard it all. I've heard the conversations. This is how, I mean, and I'll just tell you right now, you can always reach out to me. You can always message me. You can always Facebook. You can always put Trio in the comments below. And I will tell you about the 3 supplements that help with insulin sensitivity. TikTok, you have to message me. Instagram, you have to message me. Or if you're on the replay Instagram, you can put Trio. But I'm just telling you, like, this is what I do all day is I chat with people and I hear all these stories and I know what you're being told or what you're being made to feel. And I want you to hear insulin is a hormone. Obesity is not a calorie in, calorie out problem. This is a hormonal problem. And so if you change the glasses and you stop listening to all the noise, you can actually make gain. You can actually make progress by giving your body the raw materials that it's deficient in, bringing down your insulin, bringing down your sugars, and finally being able to lose weight. Okay, does that make sense? Nope, 59, Carrie. You're right, I'm not 69, 59. Kern, thank you for following. 59, yeah. Yes, I'm 59. You don't understand unless you're in it. I know. You're 52, you feel the same as you did. Not informed by any doctor. I know. I'm sorry. This is why, listen, we're all in this together. Every single one of us, we're all in this together. Now I've gone from the 2X down to a large. I'm not at my goal weight yet either. So I'm doing this with you, but I will tell you, but that was Lisa, I will answer that. You cut out all carbs. Lost 50 pounds in 3 months. Of course, you ate it again and gained it. Oh, I'm sorry. I know. So she cut out all carbs and sugar and lost 50 pounds. Yep, it really does matter. The name of the Facebook group is Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. Ditch, like get rid of insulin resistance for women. And it's on Facebook. And when you tell them that I sent you, Kirsten, and it's my group, but it'll ask that question anyway. But when you get in there, I will remember to tag you in a free recipe PDF. Okay. There's a free recipe PDF that I put together and it will talk to you about pantry ideas and then some snack and some like food recipes just to get you started. Okay. So that you have some, and then let me finish this. Then at the beginning of June, this is what we're going to do. So like get into the group. This is what we're going to do. June 3rd through the 6th, Monday through Thursday. I usually do 5 days. This time I'm doing 4 because I'm leaving out of town Friday the 6th. we'll start a challenge, and I go live in there every single day for the challenge. And I will tell you about ingredient trade outs. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. And then I will take you into my pantry. I'll take you into my refrigerator. I clean it out once a month just for you. I know, you're welcome. It's not that bad. It's just my husband and I now, but it's just not my favorite thing to do. It's okay. I can handle it. I'm a big girl. And then I will explain to you why giving your body raw materials actually works. Why does this scientifically work? Because now I've spent years studying all this to be able to understand, like, what is going on? Why did this work? I had to reverse engineer, like, what? And then I'm like, okay, so God gave us answers. Okay, I'm starting to track. And then I just started to like figure it out one step at a time. But then we'll do a recipe. And I've been doing this since last June. And this is my whole thought process. If you want a track to run on, if you want to have somebody like in your corner, if you want somebody to be in your back pocket a little bit, that you can ask questions to, that you can be like, okay, it's not just the kid at GNC who doesn't know anything about a hormone, who's 22 years old. It's not a Facebook ad that you randomly saw. It's not an Amazon find of somebody telling you to go like buy, a gummy or something like that, but actually proven this is exactly what I did. And I can actually show you how big they are. The three supplements, the 3 ingredients that are helping with insulin sensitivity. Started this over 10 years ago. It's literally my conversation that I have all day, every day with people, because if you can get down your sugars and your insulin, not only are you going to be able to finally lose weight, but more than that, you're going to be able to take back your body. Because the effects of insulin resistance gone awry, I watched it all happen. I watched it with my dad. I watched it with my brother. And I watched it with my mom. And all 3 are gone. So I watched it to the end with all 3 of them. Okay. I'm Italian. I may or may not have a lot of obesity and type 2 in my family. May or may not. Just saying, this is what pushed me to figure this out, because I was raised to celebrate and mourn with food. I was raised to manja, eat. And then when you gain weight, you're putting on a few pounds there, honey. And then when you're like, oh, I should probably do something about that. And so you lose weight. Guess what you're told? Don't you be getting too skinny now. Like, anyway, current thing. Yep. Okay. Hold on. So the question was, how do you know if you're insulin resistant? There are many, I'll answer that for you, Tina. There are many signs. I even looked up one day on Google and it said, I don't even know where that information came from. It was a while ago, about a year ago, you can't really know the signs of insulin resistance. And I thought, what kind of lies and BS is this? Yes, you can. When you are chasing carbs all day long, you're just craving carbohydrates. It's because your body is craving energy, because your insulin can't get your fuel into your cell, because your cell is now resistant. If you have skin tags, discoloration, pigmentation of your skin, usually on the neck, if you're exhausted all the time, if you are, you're eating and then you're just crashing and you're just laid out, like that was me all the time, wanting to nap on the living room floor when I was raising my kids. Trying to think of what else. Brain fog can be something. Belly fat is a big one. Belly fat is huge because insulin and cortisol are both hormones. One is a stress hormone. One is your sugar hormone, so to speak. And they will both show up in your belly. And so this is all one big hormonal conversation. And so in the Facebook group, I talk more broadly about targeted supplementation because it's all the same conversation. Like, I started with adaptogenic herbs, which I still take to this day. Because again, you don't have to think you're crazy all the time. And they actually ended up helping me with my hormones. And now I'm 59 and I never had a hot flash. And anyway, it's another conversation. But it's all a part of it. And sometimes people are at the beginning of their insulin resistance journey, and the trio is just perfect. These are the 3 supplements that help with insulin sensitivity. Okay. They're small. I show them because they're small. I want people to know. Okay. And it's really easy. Twice a day, 3 times a day. Okay. This is how you begin to get your body functioning again. But some people are at the beginning of their insulin resistant journey and they're like, I've got some belly fat. I think I have some of this going on. All of it. It's just, I'm at the beginning stages of going, why can't I lose weight like I used to? But then there are people who they have high stress jobs, they have high stress lives, and they need something to help them with their cortisol at the same time, because that's the other layer of the belly fat and the frustration, right? So that's when maybe maybe we need to start talking about some ashwagandha, right? And I'm just going to tell you right now, when you are working with adaptogenic herbs, this is where feel free to always reach out to me. Like my DMs, you can jump into my DMs in Instagram, on Facebook Messenger, TikTok. It's a little more challenging, but you can message me. I don't even know if we have to follow each. They've changed things on TikTok. So jump over to IG if you can. It's an easier way for me to be able to converse and send links so people can see things, right? But when it comes to adaptogenic herbs, please make sure that they're third-party tested, which mine are. My ashwagandha is coming from an organic farm. It literally is USDA certified organic. Really hard to get that seal. So I'm just telling you, don't take plants that have been sprayed with all of the chemicals and then put into a little tiny pill and then given to you as an adaptogenic herb. Adaptogenic herbs, they help your body adapt to stress. That's what they do. They're already kind of in a little bit of a class of their own, meaning they're God's answers to us to help our bodies. But you want to, you would not want to, take massive amounts of adaptogenic herbs and have issues in your body. Does that make sense? But then on top of that, you don't want them to be all sprayed with stuff. Don't make this harder on your liver than it needs to be. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So, what are the things that I just showed? That's your problem for sure. Tina, are you talking about stress? Because I can talk to you about that. Are there side effects? I have to stop. I'm going to set these down. Not that I'm aware of. However, if you are pregnant or nursing, if you are on thyroid medication, if you are, what was the third one? Because I just talked about this last night, actually, with a bunch of business owners. If you have autoimmune, just pay attention, right? And always, if somebody's on serious anti-anxiety type things, they probably already know this, but you do have to really be careful because of interactions. But yet on the other side of that, I am not a doctor, but there is a holistic psychiatrist on TikTok that will talk about how she left the industry to basically get everybody off of scripts and put them on using adaptogenic herbs for mental health. So anyway, okay, hold on just a second. Yes, Tina. So reach out to me, Tina, if you don't know anything about the ashwagandha. I would love to share with you about that. Actually, they have a deal going on right now. 2 bottles of ashwagandha and you get a free stress probiotic, which is a phenomenal, it's $46 free. And that is a really, really good combination for if you're under a lot of stress. I'm just saying, a lot of nurses, overnight shifts, ICU, critical care nurses, labor and delivery. I talk to so many nurses because the stress is just high. So they have to deal with not only their insulin resistance, but they have to really target the cortisol at the same time. And so by doing that, you want to make sure that you're doing both, the ashwagandha and the gut, right? Let's get the stress taken care of. And that stress relief, the stress probiotic is so helpful for those who are under stress like that. You're trying to get your gut microbiome going at the same time that you are trying to get your cortisol to go simmer down. Yeah. Social workers, super stressed. Good point, Sandra. Oh, there's a lot of industries. I know. People who are, see, I took care of my mom for 5 years with dementia. Dementia's hard. So anybody that's taking care of an aging parent like that, whoo, it's tough, especially if they live in your home, right? So I think I answered that. Okay, the 3, sorry. I forget who asked me that. Mary Allen, thank you. Okay. I was going to say it went away, but it didn't go away. I just dropped one on the floor, so I'll get another one. So these are the trio. I talk about the trio all the time in my content, if you follow any of my content, because this is the beginning. This is where you start if you're insulin resistant. And I scientifically break it all down, like in the Facebook group when I do my challenges, so that you can understand. I don't want people thinking, see, how do I say this? I want people to understand that if you are deficient in certain things, like if you give your body raw materials that it needs, that it's deficient in, and we're deficient for a lot of reasons. We're deficient because our soil is so depleted. We're deficient because our food is so sprayed. And so our bodies aren't quite functioning properly. We're deficient because we don't eat seasonally in our own towns, let's just say. We're eating out of season foods all the time. And I'm not saying that I don't, of course I do, but I'm just saying, like, over time, you're getting stuff that's shipped to you from very far away, and the nutrient level is so down by the time you get it in your store. It may look pretty because they made it look pretty, but that doesn't mean it's nutrient dense anymore. So what you're able to do is you're able to take an organic farm, let's say, and you can grow things and you can harvest them at the peak of their strength, at the peak of their nutritional value. And you can like freeze that moment in time, so to speak, by harvesting it and turning it into a supplement within like 36 hours and getting it into your hands fresh. So it's just a completely different understanding. And that's why when I have heard, because it took me a while to understand why this was happening, why this was working. Somebody who it's my friend's dad. So type 2, and for over 10 years, he couldn't get his sugars down. And in fact, here, I'll pull out my daily. Couldn't get his sugars down for over 10 years. And he said, hey, Dad, why don't you try just get your health a little better than it is already? Why don't you just do that? And so he's like, okay, fine, I'll do that. And he started taking, this is actually a multivitamin, multimineral, and a phytonutrient plant. So vitamin, mineral, and plants. He starts to take this twice a day. And in 4 months, his A1C comes down, like I think 4 or 5 points. And he goes on to lose like over 50 pounds. But understand the concept. It's not because, oh, magical, easy fix, simple fix, everything is fixed fast. No, it's because his body was just deficient in certain things because we're just nutritionally deficient. It's just the way that it is. And I think we know that more than ever now. And especially after we've gone through like the shutdown, some of us know if we are immune compromised more than others. We're like, oh, yeah, like, I wasn't maybe getting enough sun or any sun. And, maybe you were like getting more and more, colds or whatever during that whole season, aside from the whole Rona conversation, but you realized, right? And so being deficient isn't very helpful. Thank you for the follow. You understand, you were raised Italian too. I know. My husband laughs at me because I'll be like, yeah, I'm in conversation with, and I'll say a last name. And he's like, because it's like, I'm talking to a lot of Italian women. Hello. I know. You can always DM me and I will chat with you and I will tell you exactly what I'm thinking that is helpful for you without having you get things that you don't need. Because seriously, it's a real deal. Good morning. Enjoying Maria's protein lasagna while watching me. Beth, you're so smart. I love that recipe, you guys. It's in the free PDF of recipes that you get when you jump into the group. And the group is called Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. And I'll do another challenge in June, the beginning of June. And this is what happens. I'm going to take these down, take these away. This is what happens. You can start the month of June. In fact, you can get, think about this. Like, instead of like just throwing your summer to the wind and hating where your weight is by the end of summer and doing nothing, why not grab some targeted supplements, jump into the group, let's do the challenge, and then take on the month of June. Don't overwhelm yourself. Take on 1 month. And then July, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do another challenge at the beginning of the month. And then you can take on July. And then August, I'm going to do another challenge. And you can take on the month of August, and you can be a completely different place, be in a completely different place by the time you start this fall, going into the candy season that lasts from October 31st all the way through Easter. You can actually change then the way that you're thinking about food, the way that you're thinking about treats, the way that you're thinking about, like, what if you started with something that could calm your mind about food? Because that's just where I started. It's all I know to talk about. I don't know to talk about a lot of other stuff. I'm a very narrow conversation person. Insulin resistance, this is what I did. Trio, changed out my foods. Insulin resistant, this is what I did. Trio, changed out my foods. Now, are there layers to that conversation? Of course there are, because I learned really fun tricks, like how to make a flatbread out of cottage cheese and eggs. Like, I've learned stuff over the last handful of years. Anyway, I know I'm missing comments on Facebook. It's just because they don't all come through. So I apologize for that. Oh, what are the 3 magic morning pills? You're funny. You're funny now. You're taking my words. You're twisting my words. So basically, this is a combination of, it doesn't come in a packet. They are 3 separate supplements, but they are helping you to, when you can't bring down your insulin and your sugars, you can't lose weight. This is the number 1 conversation that I have with people all the time. Number 2, the sugar cravings and the overwhelm about food noise is for real. Makes it hard for people to make these decisions about food. And I understand that, like, probably more than you know. But if your liver is not functioning, you can't metabolize fat. If you are dealing with a lot of insulin resistance, chances are you're dealing with a fatty liver and you're dealing with the visceral belly fat. When things are not functioning, when your engine is not working, your system, it's all connected. Your stomach, your liver, your pancreas, the insulin, that's the hormone, the glucose that finally shows up in your blood, sometimes years and years and years after your insulin has been high for so long. And we don't know it because they're only pulling blood tests. That's why this is happening, and you don't even know it. You're told that your numbers are okay. So if you can get your engine back running again, Instagram, you're the best platform in terms of, at the top of the page, there's a pink button. It's a highlight bubble, and it has the testimonies, and you can flip through the testimonies. People's sugars coming down and losing weight finally, and they didn't understand, or they were doing a really good keto for a long time and they stalled out and they had to get jump started. And after doing, keto, intermittent fasting, all sorts of things, they were finally able to jump start. And it's just because you're literally working with your system as a understanding that if you give your body raw materials, it can function again. I liken it exactly to when our power steering fluid is out or going, and it's hard to steer, and your vehicle goes, that sounded like a cow. Okay, I'm not going to do it again, but it sounded like a cow. But that's what I liken it to. It just really, it's like, that's like, think of that as your liver and your whole system that's high with inflammation because of high insulin. Think about that in terms of the visceral belly fat that's around the organs underneath the fat that you can pinch. I know we want that fat to go away. I'm not confused. So let's deal with liver, visceral belly fat, metabolism, sugars, and insulin, and cravings all at the same time. Let's do that and see how that starts to work inside of your body. Let's see how that feels to you. And then, yes, If you need to deal with cortisol, I can talk to you about ashwagandha. If you need to deal with the fact that you're having a hard time transitioning carbs because you have emotional connections to food, I can talk to you about a carb blocker. If you have just so much inflammation in your body and you need a turmeric that's actually absorbable into your system, by their own claim, 45 times more absorbable into your system, like taking 400 milligrams of this turmeric is like taking 6,000 milligrams of somebody else's, and it's mixed with fenugreek, and the fenugreek is helpful for blood sugars. Like, I can layer stuff for people, and then I can talk to you about food, and then I can layer food conversation for people, because what is the food that you love to eat? What is it that you love? And trade it out. Beth said she was eating the keto lasagna. Dang, that's such a good recipe. And I'm not the recipe creator. I'll tell you, so much of my stuff comes from Maria Emmerich. I love her recipes, but it works. It works when you can finally think enough and you can finally see your body go into a proper direction. It feels so good. So 59, no scripts, no type 2 in sight, and I never will. Even though my dad died of type 2 at 63, insulin dependent, and he did all the things, all of it. All of the heart surgeries, all of the pacemaker, dialysis for his kidneys. He did it all. I have type 2 all around me. I'm Italian. So that's usually all I have to say. People understand, because it's all about then everything white. And your body just can't do it forever. It just can't. At some point, you actually have to like give it back. You actually have to go, okay, I'm going to give you the raw materials that it needs to actually function. I'm going to put the power steering fluid into my body so that it can actually turn and function. Oh, look at there. Now, all of a sudden, my liver can metabolize fat again. Oh, look at there. All of a sudden, my insulin can go simmer down. My sugars can go back down. Like let's just go. And again, okay, I have to be careful. I am not making any claims. I make zero claims. I wouldn't do that. I can't do that, but I can show you the testimonies. Okay. And all of the testimonies, I think, that are on the highlight bubble in the gram, I think most of them are all just from January. Like, they're the most, like, I try to keep them updated. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't, but I don't think they go much before January of this year. So my point just being that, like, take the last quarter of, of the first quarter of this year. So that's the conversation. But what you do need to know is you just joined the Facebook group, Mary. I'm so excited. So what I'll do, Mary, is I will see that you jumped in there, and it's called, for anybody who just jumped on, Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. The banner right now is the June 4-day challenge. And when I see you and I let you in there, I started this a year ago. I will tag you in the free recipe PDF. I'll tag you, and you can, it at least helps you. Is the name of the Instagram group your name? I don't have an Instagram group, but yes, I am Kirsten Liebelt across all social media. I do have a personal Facebook page that I'm on right now, also somewhere right there, somewhere, because I have a business one and then a personal one, and it's Kirsten Fragali Liebelt. Because there you go. That's my Italian heritage coming out. So everything is Kirsten Liebelt. Okay. Except for the group Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. And it's been a great journey. The last year has been wonderful. And I'll tell you, it gives hope to my heart every time somebody DMs me and they tell me, oh my gosh, I've been type 2 for 3 years and I'm not. So you have to remember, I had a lot of, what's that called? Imposter syndrome. That's why I didn't do a lot of social media on this. I did a lot of local stuff first, because I'm not type 2. I avoided it. And then I realized, oh, wait, that's my story. I'm actually the one that avoided it. So, but somebody will text me and say, I've been type 2 for 3 years. I've been on meds to get down my A1C. That has been working. Now I'm trying berberine, I'm trying inositol, but I cannot lose not even 1 pound. what is going on. And that particular one, she started the trio in September, and within 2.5 months, her morning sugars came down 30 points and she lost 14 pounds. And that was the beginning of her journey. So I'm just telling you, like, I understand the conversation of you're stalled out for whatever reason. And I know that, and I'm not even saying that berberine isn't good. I've just never used it. Berberine wasn't being talked about when I started these over 10 years ago. I just didn't know. So I'm just saying that sometimes whatever is deficient for somebody else or whatever is working for somebody else may not be, so may or may not be exactly what is needed for you. I don't even know, right? Because your body is different than my body. The testimonies are just there and there's a 6-month guarantee on everything. So I hope everybody heard that. A 6-month guarantee, like that is unheard of. Who does that? Okay. Teresa says, my father too died at 60, despite heart surgery, dialysis. And Teresa, I know, is Italian. So we connect. He got a transplant and taking a handful of meds. Wow. If I only knew then what I've learned and continue to learn now. His life was cut short due to lack of information and too many drugs. Doesn't it feel like we're all waking up now and seeing the light that we were not allowed to see years ago? Thank you, Kirsten. You are welcome, Teresa. You are welcome. It's a big conversation. It's a lot of information. I try to be as streamlined as I can, but I can talk about so many facets of this for a very long time. And maybe I just need to, maybe I need to change a few things, how I'm doing my second year in my group and go live more, because I couldn't just talk for a long time about certain pieces, because all of a sudden, as things started to make sense to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's connected too. Oh my gosh, that's connected too. Oh my, like it has just been like this for a very long time. And I'm like, oh, people need to know. People need to know. Like, that's how I feel most all the time. But I feel like if I come on and I do that, then I'll just be annoying. And, possibly I already am. I don't know. Michelle, I will absolutely. Oh, Carrie, you joined the group too. I have you all fired up now. Woohoo! Okay, that's so exciting. I will pin you in. I'll tag you in the free PDF when I let you in here in just a little bit. Michelle, so I can't. TikTok makes it really hard to communicate. And so you can either jump over to IG and like just send me a heart emoji, and I'll get you the information if that's what you want. Or you can DM me. You can DM me on IG, and that icon is already on my profile. My messenger. Yeah, TikTok is a little challenging. You joined also, Kristen. Yay! You guys, we're going to have so much fun. It's going to be June 3rd is the challenge for June. And what I'll do is, let's see, I will commit myself today to go live in the group. And I will tell everybody exactly what you need to do to get yourself prepped for June 3rd. Okay. We'll do that. And in the free PDF that has, it has some snack ideas and it has some recipes. It has a pantry suggestion. Like it has some pantry items that you could be thinking about even getting into your pantry now and whatever. And then I'll take you into my actual pantry in June. So, okay. Anyway, that's awesome. And Kristen, you have such a beautiful name. Of course, I'm Kirsten, but it's close enough. It's close enough. So anyway, all right. Well, that's very exciting. Did I miss anything? Oh man, I missed a lot of stuff here. Hold on. Instagram. Okay. So I hope, Michelle, that that made sense to you. I don't know what the rules are right now with TikTok as far as if we have to follow each other for you to message me or if you can just message me, but I can't send any active links to anything. They don't have that figured out yet. I don't know why. They just don't. They just don't. Vicky, did you join? Did you get in the group? I would love to know. Thank you. I know. It's funny, when I was growing up, I was like, because I'm Italian. And then my mother, who was 100% Swedish, my dad was 100% Italian, my mother was 100% Swedish. She's the one, obviously, that named me Kirsten, being Swedish. And I always when I was growing up, I was like, oh, you want to, Vicky, you can join. It's called Ditch Insulin Resistance for women. The banner is a June 4-day challenge. Has like a seashell on it. You'll see it. So you can go look that up on Facebook. But I didn't like my name, Kirsten, because that was different, right? That was not the norm, number one, in general at all. Like my friends' names were, Lisa, you know what I'm saying? But then on top of that, it was just so different than any of the Italian names. But of course, now I love my name. And how blessed was I to be able to be a part of taking care of my mom until she was 94. So her Swedish heritage really, really was a very, very, very good heritage. And I'm very grateful for that. But she totally was like marginalized for being Swedish. My dad, okay, I'll tell you this and I'm going to go. Get in the group if you can. DM me if you have questions. If you need to know about the supplements that help you to go from insulin resistant to insulin sensitive, this is not something that I have to fix that on TikTok. It's not something that I started last week. This is something I started over 10 years ago and I still take to this day. Okay. So we can get you going on that as well. Message me. Okay. Go to IG if you need to. You can get into my messenger on Facebook. Instagram, you're already there. So you're already there. But my dad, so this is my story and then I'll jump off. When we were growing up, because we were half Italian, half Swedish, he used to call us his little swagos. Now, of course, I had absolutely no understanding that dago was a derogatory term for Italians. I actually I've never even looked it up. I wonder what that even, I don't even know. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But so he would always introduce us. Yeah, so these are my kids. They're my little swagos. And everybody would laugh. And so therefore, as a child, like looking up at the adults talking, and he would say swago and we would be like, they would be laughing. I always thought, oh, well, that's hilarious. Whatever that is that he's saying, that's funny. And so I never, ever, ever had any negative connotation about being Italian. Why would I? And but then my mom, she was kind of kicked out of everything, so to speak. Not legit, not real, but I'm just saying, we never had a Thanksgiving without pasta. We never had a Christmas without pasta. You never ate anything without a side of pasta. That's how that went. One year she tried to do a Swedish Thanksgiving. I think I can remember it like it was yesterday, sitting around her kitchen table, and we all stared at the table of food that she worked so hard to make, and we all went, okay. It was like lefse, head cheese, Swedish meatballs. We were not excited, and she never did that again. My poor mama. But she was a great cook. She was a good cook. I thought they called dagos because we lived in San Diego. Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. Oh, that is so funny. That is so funny. Okay, you guys are too much. You guys are too fun. Okay, if you need me, DM me. I'm going to go let people into the Facebook group. It's called Ditch Insulin Resistance for Women. I'm going to tag you in the free PDF, and we are going to get rocking and rolling and ready for the challenge at the beginning of June. And we're going to actually get your body functioning at a higher level so that you can finally lose weight and have hope. Get encouraged, get your hopes up. And Instagram, don't forget the highlight bubble at the top of the Instagram page. You have a pink highlight bubble that has testimonies. Take the time, read through the testimonies so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Don't take my word for it. Look for yourself, okay? Because that's the only way that I can get information to you is by telling you what people are texting me. It's the only way I can do this. Because otherwise it's just me going blah, 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 blah. And that doesn't mean I'm only one person. But how about if it's many people? Just saying. Okay. Have a super, super, super amazing, blessed Wednesday. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. We'll be back 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. See you later.